So today we're going to be doing a top sirloin roast, and we're going to be doing it a little different today. So let's get started. Okay, so this roast here, this was dry brined with Himalayan salt only, coarse ground. There'll be a link for what I use in the description. Now I'm not using granulated garlic on this one. We're going to just use straight garlic. I'm not even going to grind up pepper for this. I'm just going to throw, well, you'll see in a second. So what we're going to start off with is we're going to take 4 bulbs of garlic. We got this stuff on sale, a great big bunch of it. It's really cheap. But the reason it's really cheap is because it's getting really old. So it's not really suitable to, mince up and leave on the food when you're going to eat it. So all I'm doing is I'm pulling off the outer skins. And we're going to take 4 full bulbs here. And we're just going to kind of loosen everything up a little bit. And then we're going to put it in the blender. So this is a Ninja. We really like this. It's worked very well for us. It's 1500 watt professional. Well, actually, I don't know if this exact same model is still for sale, but I'll leave a link down in the description where you can pick up something similar. Now, we've tried different blenders over the years, and this is really the best bang for the buck that we've ever seen. And if you look up reviews online, the Ninja is actually very highly rated. Now, I'm not saying it's cheap, but in the realm of decent blenders, it's pretty inexpensive. So you'll notice I'm not taking very much care to remove all the skin, just all the loose, dry stuff. Doesn't really matter because it's not going to stay on the food. It's just going in the bag with the sous vide roast to give it the flavor. Now I just did this kind of a concept with a couple top sirloin steaks. And it actually flavored them quite well. It's surprising how garlic can just permeate everything. Matter of fact, there was an interesting little test that I read about and tried just to verify that it works. If you take a clove of garlic, cut it in half, rub it on the bottom of your foot, you'll smell it on your breath in about 5 to 10 minutes. So it actually absorbs into the body very readily. And it absorbs into any food very readily. Okay, so pull the blender out a little more, or you can reach it easier. And I'm also going to take some peppercorns and just dump some in. Now these are just cheap run-of-the-mill peppercorns you can pick up at your local grocery store. Nothing fancy. And we're just going to pour a bunch in there. So that's maybe a couple tablespoons. Okay, and I'm just going to do a pulse a few times until it starts to break up a bit. helps if I turn on the power. Now, one thing I really like about Ninja is the way they break stuff up. These extra blades on the side really move stuff up and down. Does a fantastic job. So we're just going to give it a little longer of a pulse here. Okay, I think we're good. Now we'll prep our bag. Now, of course, I always turn the top inside out so we don't contaminate the seal. Now, if you've got a vacuum sealer, then definitely you want to vacuum seal this, but it's not necessary. And that's one of the reasons I like to show people doing this. Of course, the other reason is we don't have a vacuum sealer. I'm a human vacuum sealer, I guess you could say. Okay, and we're just going to spoon this into the bag. Okay, now you notice also that I've got this roast sitting on a rack, a wire rack. This is so it's got airflow all the way around it. It doesn't dry brine properly if you don't do that. Now, hopefully, I can get this to fit in crossways. Yeah, it just fits. Now we're just going to take some more of this garlic and peppercorns. And we're just going to kind of spread it around. Make sure all the surfaces have kind of got lots on them. Okay. I'm just going to roll this over a bit to burp it. Shouldn't have to manually suck it out with lung power like I often do. Okay, some stuff in here. Okay, so on this cook, so I'm actually going to cook it to 134, and it's going to go for 24 hours. Okay. Now, as always, you need to have the water level between the minimum and maximum marks once the roast is in there. And right now it's showing the current temperature of the water, but it won't actually start the timer. Oh, I'm gonna have to take some out of there. So it won't actually start the timer until it reaches the proper cooking temperature. Okay, and we'll see you in a little bit when we're ready to take this out. Well, good morning, folks. So it's been 24 hours that we've had this roast sous vide here. So we're gonna take it out. We're gonna make some nice thick slices like big steaks, and we're going to sear those individual slices and see how it turned out. Let's get started. So the machine just kicked off a couple minutes ago. And we're going to pull this roast out. Oh, it's looking pretty juicy. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pour off this juice. We're going to save it for au jus. Boy, it's definitely nice and soft. Now I did a couple steaks the other day, and I only sous vide them for 12 hours, and they just didn't turn out that tender. So I think when it comes to top sirloin, I think 24 hours is going to be the magic number. So let me just grab a glove here to hold this. Okay, I'm just going to move some of this stuff out of the way here that we put on. All that ground up or chopped up garlic, peppercorns. Okay, so all this stuff we're going to throw away. Now that all the flavor has been sucked out of it. And I'm actually going to do something that might make some of you cringe. I'm just going to take this and rinse it off a little bit. Okay, now we're going to pat it dry. Now we don't need to get it. We don't need to get it really, really dry because we're not searing the outer crust here. We're going to be searing the individual slices. So I just want to make it so that it's easier to handle. Now, just while that cools off a little bit, I'm just going to move some stuff out of the way. Now, I have to say, this little 10-liter Coleman cooler that I used to sous vide in, this worked really, really nice. It didn't take up near as much room. Oh, I'm just going to set this off to the side. Okay. So let's cut into this and see what it looks like. Man, it is so tender. Okay. Oh, would you look at that? Absolutely perfectly done. Just the way we want it. Nice medium rare. And we're going to cut some nice thick boy steaks. This way when we sear it, we're not going to get extra cooking except right where we're searing it. When I tried searing those steaks I did the other day, they were less than a half-inch thick. So I wound up, even though they were cooked to medium rare, by the time I was done searing them, they were well done all the way through, and I was definitely not very happy with that. Okay. So we're cutting them about 1.5 inches thick. Yeah, it's just falling apart tender. All right, so we're going to take our frying pan here. Now this is actually, it looks like a small pan, but it's actually got quite a thick bottom. So it's a stainless steel pan with this non-stick coating on the inside. Not sure what type of a non-stick coating this is. It's a little different and it's very, very tough. And it seems to do a nice job of holding the heat so we can do searing. So I'm going to crank it up to almost all the way up. So we're going to about 8 or so. Actually, I might go right between 8 and high. So like any good carnivore, we're going to take our leftover bacon grease, and that's going to be in place of using oil. We know how bad vegetable oil is for us. And we'll just let that get nice and hot and melty. All right, we're just going to spread that around a little bit. Oh, listen to that. So we're going to sear each side for 1 minute. And I'm actually timing it. Oh yeah, look at that. Well, didn't get quite as much sear as I would have liked. Probably because I didn't turn the pan up all the way this time. So just gonna leave this a little longer. Flip it back over, give it a little more. There, now we're talking. All right, turn that off. All right, let's see how we did here. Nice, still nice and perfect on the inside. So future Fuzzy D here. When I was doing that initial part of the taste test, I must have cut into a part of the meat that was just a little tougher than the rest. So as I'm eating more here, the rest of it is way more tender. So it was just that one little corner that was kind of like a separate part of the cut that came out a little tougher for some reason. But the rest of it is just melt in your mouth tender. I'm really, really happy with how this turned out as a whole. So perfectly juicy, and the flavor of all that fresh garlic and the peppercorns, just incredible. I am adding a little bit of finishing salt, because even though it was dry brined, it's pretty large roast, so there wasn't a great deal of saltiness left in the meat. So a little finishing salt really kind of tops it off. So I'll hand you back to past Fuzzy D. Wow, that fresh garlic and peppercorns, that ever make for a nice flavor. Now, as tender as that roast was when we took it out, it's definitely not going to be as tender as, say, a nice ribeye steak or something, but it's still pretty darn tender, and I would highly recommend trying this recipe. Well, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We really appreciate you being here. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.